Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to another episode of the LMTV. As I've been talking about last week or so, we're starting a new series called the Pro Series. The idea is that we're trying our best to reserve our Wednesday slot for our sponsors, doing executive interviews, live demos, and so forth. Really living up to our own statement of purpose, which is to bring new tools to your life. But in addition, we're creating this post series, giving each of our own writers a chance to talk about things that they're passionate about. And so for example, last week we start with Chris Greer's LMTV for newbies, and we also did one for Paul Offord on his LMTV TriLab, and today we are doing a show with our very own OCOM guy, Tim O'Neill. Good morning, Tim.
Hello, Denny. How are you this fine morning?
Hey, we're great. We're great. We actually have more fun off air. Once we click the start button, we become very rigid.
Real serious now.
Yeah, sometimes I just say, wait. Let's no, we're missing all the good stuff. Let me put that on air. But anyway, Tim is very passionate about protecting our homeland, and of course, he has many ways of doing that. And one of the way is that he's using what he knows professionally, which is that of networking, and try to alert people to alert our countrymen to this the threat that we see on the cyber front. And so we kind of been using this name HomeLAN, LAN, in various form, and we're bringing this back as a HomeLAN alerts. So Tim has so tell us first, what do you have in mind, and how often will we be doing this?
Well, we hope to at least every 2 weeks, but the whole idea is to alert people to all the new scams, get people thinking about cybersecurity because, you don't want to scare people, but you want people to be aware. And if people are aware, they can prevent a lot of the stuff that's happening, the fishing, the farming, and all this stuff that goes on constantly. And we can't do much about the industry. We can keep coaching the industry. And 2015 is going to be a pivotal year in security. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, not everybody can afford to know the truth, right?
that and you know, like
So we
also
don't. I mean, in that sense, we don't want to scare them.
right. We don't want you scared, but we want you, at least aware of what can happen and thoughtful about what you do. Not just at home. Of course, you want to protect your home and your children, but at work, you want to protect your country and your company because if they go away, you go away. You get fired. So,
I guess
uh,
in some way, if we take a step back, that's really what you and I had in mind for this special show, Homeland Alerts, which is that it's not just that we want to bring knowledge, or at least timely knowledge, but we really just want to bring awareness, right?
yeah,
Being aware is the first step towards being protected.
right. And it's a goal that if I inform one person, or if we get to inform 100 people, and they inform other people, including their family, uh, we save some people the grief of going through trying to reclaim your identity and losses and things like that, and your corporate attacks and things like that. So just being aware can save a lot of grief, and I do a lot of talks externally, and the awareness really helps off. A lot of people have told me about just being aware of one thing has saved them being caught in something that would have cost them.
And that's sort of the message too, is that of course we like to participate on a national level, how to protect the country, but let's start at home. How do we protect our home? How do we protect our loved ones? How do we protect our own asset, right?
Yeah. And we've been doing a little bit of this on and off with companies like who'sonmywifi.com, John Kerber and his team, and we got other companies you can go out and look at and find good, viable companies to work with. And of course, if anybody wants to send us an email, the OCOM or OCOM guy at Gmail or Denny, either one, and we'll try to give you an answer as to what you might want to do or look into. But it's essential that you become aware because you're vulnerable, your kids are vulnerable, your company's vulnerable, your family is vulnerable. You don't want that.
Yeah, and it's and in a way we're kind of sending an open invitation at this moment, right, to
Yeah.
anyone who wants to be part of this to come in as a regular panel member
Hmm.
and to kind of share that mission, right?
Absolutely. Love to
Hmm.
have some, cards. I got so many of them, but just the other week, I think it was 2 weeks ago, the U.S. government, or I'm sorry, Florida, through using a U.S. government grant, Tampa, University of Tampa, did a study, and they estimate that there's over a 250,000 jobs currently open in the United States for people with cyber backgrounds that are security focused, that can help companies protect themselves. And if you took that and you extrapolated that to the home need, it would be in the millions, because people at home just don't have the time or the inclination, most of them, to actually do something. They think everything's safe. But 2015 is going to be a pivotal year. We're going to see a lot of changes in the way they attack. We're going to see much, much more attacks on home devices, mobile devices, pads. And people today, they do their banking on their cell phone. They do a lot of stuff on cell phones or pads, and they're very vulnerable.
Well, I'll let you do most of the talking today, but one of the things that I can bring in is that I do a lot of travel to Asia, not only because it's the place where I was born, but also, recently I go back for a lot of the more the spiritual and religious kind of activity, and so I get exposed to to more the Chinese government, the way they do things, and so forth, and you know. When they really cramping down on freedom of thoughts, they
Absolutely.
and so there's a lot of stuff that they're doing inside the country, but um, which as American citizen that doesn't really affect us because even though they affect people's life, they don't affect us. But on the other hand, there's a lot of stuff that they're doing outside of their country.
Well,
Uh,
they
you
were.
know,
There's a lot of talk that they were part of the Anthem healthcare system attack, which exposed, some estimates go as high as 150, 180 million names, addresses, phone numbers, social security, everything. Medical information. The PII we call it, which is personal
yeah.
information.
So in a way, when I first came to the country, this country, in the early 70s, um, we were living with the constant struggle between Soviet Union and United States,
The nuclear
and
cloud, we
how
called it.
yeah the nuclear cloud and how we were struggling to be a dominant force, right? The good against the evil. We're doing the same thing right now. We
Right.
just, we don't talk about it because our government is too busy making money. Our government is too busy representing the people who wants to make money in China, and
Yeah.
so they actually take a back seat and not talk about how they should stand up for liberty. Uh, so it's not something that we talk about, but it's the same intensity actually between the good and evil. It's just done on the cyber front,
Well,
right?
it's going to get real hot this year.
Yeah.
And
So anyway, why don't we just kind of go with the program and talk about what you want to talk about?
okay, and what I've got is 3 or 4 slides here, but I'm going to talk about the first one mainly. The rest of them I'm going to try to update as we go along, and a lot of the other ones are actually evidence of what's going on right now. So every month or every 2 weeks when we do this, I'll try to update most of this information.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
on the first real page, Jenny, would you click for me?
Sure.
Thank
Sure.
you.
Right here.
That's the latest threats, and one of the threats I've heard a lot about, because what is it? IRS time in the United States, right? Tax
Hmm.
collection time. And we've had a number of events where people fraudulently call a person, and on the caller ID, it actually says IRS, Washington D.C., or something like that. And this guy that's really gruff gets on there and threatens that if you don't send them X number of dollars tomorrow at this address, and he actually identifies himself, says he's an IRS employee or investigator. He gives them an employee ID number exactly as an IRS auditor or a IRS investigator would do. Um, and then he tells them to send money to him. And a lot of people get frightened and do it. And the reality is, I've talked to some of the people at the IRS, pretty heavy investigators. Number one, the IRS never calls you on the phone unless there's a reason. Like you've got a number of letters
I can
from.
attest to that. I've been audited by RIS in the past. They're still living in the 19th century.
Yeah, they don't call on the phone because
They
it's so
don't call
easy
on
to
the phone.
fraud.
Yeah.
And they don't do that. And secondly, they never demand that you send something overnight or, give me your credit card right now. And also, they usually just they're doing this through telephone numbers. They're not doing it with Social Security information. However, the more sophisticated ones can have access to your
I
Social
think most
Security.
people don't understand what IRS agents do. When they come at you, they come with you with a hunting license. They're ultimately looking for money, but they're in it for the game. They actually want to search every cavity first
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it's like
before they
all
take
law
your money.
enforcement investigates.
It's not like they don't they have a way of doing things. They don't just ask for money and then go away. They actually have to they have to exert a little bit of pain and embarrassment first.
Yeah, it varies. I've seen some other versions of it. Now, another thing that I've seen is local agencies. Someone fraudulently will call you and say, I'm with the county of such and such or the police department and so, and you didn't pay this fine. If you don't, this parking ticket or that, and if you don't get me $150 here by tomorrow morning, and you can send it to this address or using Federal Express, or you can go down and buy a green card over at XYZ company and send it to me. And it's very easy. People don't realize how easy it is to put up a fraudulent caller ID number. And so, you get these calls from people that say, ABC security or something, and they're not really. They're just hackers looking for your information, and they're very good at getting you to give them information. Um, if anybody ever does call you and say, I'm with the city, the county, the state, the FBI, the CIA, whatever, the IRS, tell them that you'll give them, you'll call them through the local office, and then call the local office using the number that you got from them and their name and their ID. And if they're really legitimate, they will switch you to that person. Uh, but as a rule, most law enforcement, including the IRS, don't call you on the phone and threaten you. Okay, unless there's been a real long line of problems down the road.
And if
So
they do call you, there is no caller ID. I
no,
never receive an official call from anyone that has a caller ID.
right, they'll come up. It might
Yeah.
say
They
IRS.
actually don't want you to call back, so that's why they don't
Right,
give you the caller ID.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the best thing to do is at that point just take all the information you can get from the person, the address they want it sent to, their name, their phone number, all the information you can get from them, and then call the IRS directly or the FBI or CIA, whoever's supposedly calling you. Uh, Now, don't ever accept the caller ID as real because I've seen so many fraudulent caller IDs, and it's very easy to do if you have a soft voice over IP connection. Very easy to fraudulently put down who you are and where you are. So don't believe that stuff. Okay. Um, Another thing is banking software. There's quite a bit due to a lot of
Before Tim,
script.
if you don't mind, before we leave RRS, isn't there a alert going on in terms of filing electronics filing?
Yeah, I get to TurboTax, but there's
Oh,
been
okay, okay,
yeah,
sorry, okay,
last
good.
year there was millions, well, probably
Go
close
ahead,
to
go ahead.
billions
Yeah.
of dollars of fraud. But this year, TurboTax has seen so much fraud that they've actually turned off most of their online filing, free filing. So your best bet is not to do that. Free ain't always the best thing to go for.
Hmm.
So banking software right now, between 11 and 15% of all banking software have malware in it. Okay, and that's scary. Especially the mobile banking, the banking you do on your cell phone. You go out and get an application from XYZ Bank or company in that. Uh, there's so much malware available now, and they're so easy to attack. It's really not the best thing to do everything unless you have a vetted copy of the right software. A lot of people get frustrated when they go to get XYZ software, so they'll go to WhatsApp or some app store and get it for free. Uh, Even WhatsApp, by the way, which is a big application storage point, has been hacked. So you want to avoid doing it. Get it straight from your bank. If you have to go in and beg them for a copy of it, beg them for it. Uh, there's many fake sites, as I point out in here. One of them, WhatsApp, that's a new thing we're going to talk about down here called farming. Okay, uh, but even things like your Adobe Flash, uh, Adobe's been breached, and they're getting when you go out to certain sites, they turn you on to what we call malvertising, which is malware advertising, and it can install stuff on your computer if you let it download anything to your computer. And it's a 0-day flaw. Microsoft in Trend found
What
in
exactly is
January.
zero? What does 0 day mean?
Means it's installed immediately.
I see.
Okay, it's a 0-day in the sense that it doesn't wait. It's not, it doesn't pop up 2 hours later or 3 days later. It's installed instantly, and it's instantly a malware.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why, and we'll talk about this a little more, but you should always buy a vetted, being well-known malware protection, one that updates itself weekly at least, if not daily. The one I have updates itself 3 or 4 times a day sometimes. So it's always constantly trying to, get more protection. Ransomware is not brand new. It's been around for quite a while. But one of the new things that started occurring last year is crypto locking. What happens is you go to a site, and this is getting to be a very, very dangerous thing. You'll go to a site, and all of a sudden it'll pop up and say, your computer has been frozen by, Interpol, Scotland Yard, FBI, and your hard drive is being encrypted, and you won't, if you try to stop this program, it'll wipe out your computer. And at the end, it will tell you that you can get the crypto key to decrypt your hard drive if you pay a ransom. It's typically around $300, but if you don't pay it right away, it goes up to $1,000 or something. Each one's different. But the problem is it does encrypt your hard drive, and it downloads it to a vault, we call it, down somewhere. And if you're in the internet world, or you're in the safety world, or security world, excuse me, there's actually an Excel spreadsheet that I can give to anybody that reaches out to me, but you can get the Excel spreadsheet online, especially in Cyberpol, but it has all of the traditional sites that they download the encrypted software from your computer to. So you're basically, if you don't pay them, you don't get it back.
So these are just criminals out for money, or are they state criminals?
Everything, and some people are just out for money.
Mm-hmm.
Some are out for fame. Some are out for political reasons, and others are out for just control. I want to attack people and control them and take liberty away from them. It's a freedom situation.
Or is it that there's actually? I mean, I'm a little bit on the conspiracy side now, but is it that they're just testing? I mean, it's like the old days. I was talking about the nuclear war between Russia and, I mean, not a war, but it's kind of the arm race between the Soviet Union and America. Every once in a while, we have to kind of do a test, right? And so, could it be that these are just tests?
No, this is actual criminal behavior. Their whole intent.
No, I understand. I understand that the results are real, but I'm just saying that maybe they're just testing for scale.
Well, I'm sure there's a potential for that, but these are, for most of them, usually malware. Okay, it's not really malware. It's just something someone found that was a mistake in the coding.
Mm-hmm.
They're taking advantage of it. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
In the early days, hackers were, and you still see hackers, the good guys. You see the guys that had black hat and that. They'll go out and they'll find a problem and they'll alert everybody to it, especially the owners of the software, like Trend and Microsoft did to Adobe about the 0-day attack. They're good people. They're looking for malware.
This is an interesting point. I mean, I think there's a lot of discussions when we're talking about one of the good guy now. That, let's say they discover a vulnerability in Microsoft Windows, and
heavens, no, there would never be a malware. Oh no.
Well, bad example, but let's just say that they find something. And what are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to keep it quiet and alert only the manufacturer, or are they supposed to just release it to the open? And then now the question is, when they do that, do they invite the bad guys to do bad things?
Typically when a good hacker or someone that's a good software person, you know,
When we say good
or
or bad,
government,
we don't mean technically good or bad. We mean
no,
someone who has a good or bad conscience.
right? And the good guys, they'll alert the manufacturer directly.
But sometimes they don't
And
respond.
well, that's absolutely true. They don't want to admit they have a problem. They know it's going to go public, so they kind of avoid it. Which I've seen a lot of change in that in the last few years. In last year, big time last year, I saw lots of people helping out different companies and people's, the company saying thank you. There's no, it's really sad when we think about it, but the only reward is if you commit a crime. There's no reward for being good. And
Mm.
that sometimes, I think companies make a mistake. They should actually pay the good guys to go out and try to find malware or violations in their software and help them fix it. And I think they
It's
should be
in a
paid
way,
for it.
I don't know if it's a good analogy, but in a way, it's like short selling a stock.
Yeah.
Companies shouldn't fight short sellers.
Mm-mm.
They should welcome them, right? Because if you run a good company and you have good fundamentals, you don't worry about people who short your stocks. Let them lose the butt,
Yeah.
right?
Well, it's also like the old days, the cowboy days, I used to call it when we were growing up. And, you had the guys that went out and, they put the guy's picture up. People went out, bounty hunters, and got the guy and brought him in. And he got paid for doing good. They weren't always good people, but they got paid for being, enforcing the law. And that's really,
Mm.
really, I would really like to see more of that, saying, hey, don't be a hacker. Don't be a negative hacker. Be a positive hacker, and we'll pay you for it. And unfortunately, a lot of times the people that get those jobs are the people that have been convicted of a hacking crime. So we actually give the benefit to those who have actually been criminal, and now they're going to be good guys.
Mhm,
I
mhm,
think we should do a little bit better about that. About making,
mhm.
hey, if you found there's a bounty. If you find a problem in my software, it'll be a minimum $1,000 reward. You send us all the information. I think companies would be very
I
beneficial.
think Google does that. I think
I
Google
think
actually has
Google
has an
does.
ongoing bounty for people who
Yeah,
discover.
yeah.
Um,
But ransomware is really getting bad. Matter of fact, we've actually had one gentleman person killed his son and himself over ransomware locking his computer. We had a 17-year-old boy a few months ago commit suicide in Britain because of ransomware locking his computer
wait,
down.
wait, 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 wait. You can't just say that and then go away. What exactly is the story?
Well, there was a gentleman, I think it was in Estonia or some, Eastern European country, who was on the internet and it locked his computer and told him that it had been crypto locked and that he could get it back if he paid X number of dollars. He just didn't have it. And again, you have to be a little bit
So what's the
socially
connection
unstable.
between that and the boy in London?
The boy in London was actually on a website, typical boy, 17 years old, uh, and he was out looking at different websites, probably a little bit of soft porn or something, and all of a sudden his software pops up and says that Interpol has, locked his computer and he'll be contacted by Interpol agents or something to that effect, which made him think he broke the law, and
And he killed himself
yeah,
out
yeah,
of
hung
out of
himself.
out
Mhm.
of what he perceived as guilt?
Absolutely, he
Man.
felt like, yeah. And then we had there's one case and we're not sure exactly what it was, but it was connected to ransomware in the United States. A young lady killed herself. Uh,
Wow.
and then the guy in I forget if it was Estonia or whatever it was, but it was only Eastern Europe. He killed his son first, and then he killed himself. So and this can get very serious. People live on their computers. Um, I remember one time having a lady call me up from a PTA that I had talked to several times, and her daughter was beside herself. Her cell phone had been locked, uh, and I could hear her screaming in the background, crying because her whole life, kids get to where these devices are their life. I think Google did a study a couple of years ago or a year ago where between age 14 and 30 something got up at least once a night to check their social status. So this is becoming a
Well,
lifestyle.
going back to what we said at the beginning of the show about, it goes without saying that our target audience are fellow technologists. I mean, that's why else would you come to our site? If you're looking for porn coming to our site, you're coming to the wrong place.
Unless you're a geek and you like stuff that we do.
Yeah, and so we are talking, we're geeks and we're talking to fellow geeks.
Right.
And I think so. So we have a very simple purpose of this particular series called Homeland Alert, which is that sometimes we're too busy, protecting other people, when sometimes we just have to protect our own family, right? And so, let's just think that, oh, that just happened to some other 17 years old. Well, you have 17 years old at your home. Think
That's
about
right.
that.
Yeah.
Think about that. Yeah.
I was trying to remember. He was Romanian, the one that killed his son and him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, okay, on to better news.
On to the more, but that's
Yeah,
what I'm pointing
ransom
at.
note.
This
Yeah, that's
this
it.
is getting serious though. When companies are put out of business, I've seen one company here get put out of business because of cyber fraud. So it gets serious when people are taking their life over this stuff. Uh,
Hmm. Hmm.
One of the new things besides ransomware, which is you know bad, uh, is farming. Now, everybody knows what phishing is. That's when they send you something and say, go to this website and change your password because someone has, gotten hold of your bank card. And you look around, you probably don't even have the bank card. It doesn't matter. If you click on that link, it may look like a real link. And what they're encouraging you to do, this happens all the time with PayPal, eBay, almost everything out there. Put in your information, and then now the bad guys have got your login, your password, everything from that site, and they can go ahead and start doing whatever they want to do with it. But a new one is called farming, and that's where they take it to the next step. They take phishing to the next step. So when you go on that link they gave you, it looks almost identical to the website that you're used to going to. Okay, and that's called farming, faking out a website. Uh, and there's been a lot of this done, but it's like if you go to I'll get these things. I love it. I get these things from like PayPal. Click on this link, and right away I can tell it's a false link somewhere. So I go in and I put in a fake password, and usually I put in something like XYZ at abc.com, and then I put in there, good luck, you got the wrong guy on this one, is my password. And then, just to give them a hard time. In the meantime, I try to track as much as I can and pass it on to
So
IT.
when you get a link, and then you click on the link, it goes to a website. Now we talk about how it's easy to fake caller ID. Is it easy to fake the URL?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, these guys have got it down to an art. I
So
mean,
so so that's no protection. So
no.
just when you go to a website that looks just like your PayPal account or your Bank America account, and you look up to the URL and it says exactly that this is a B of A address, that's no protection.
No, because they can actually put a software in place where they actually send you to the right website, but inside they're monitoring it and capturing all of your information. That's why for years, and again, I've had situations where I've been trapped too. But if I'm going to go to PayPal, I go www.paypal.com or eBay.com or LinkedIn.com. I don't take any links that are given to me, even in all these security messages I get. I don't click on a link. I go to the main website and then
That
log
that's
in.
actually that's a very good advice.
Yeah,
Because it's just one simple step, right? Because if let's say a lot of times, people, it's when things happen is when a number of things collide, right?
yeah,
Because if I, for if for no, if all of a sudden I get something from Bank of America, I don't, I said, well, let me think about it. I would pause, right? Because I don't, I'm not expecting anything like that. But on the other hand, if I don't know, just using an example, let's go back to the 17-year-old. I don't have a 17-year-old in my house anymore, but let's say I do, and I just gave a business
credit card.
credit card to my 17-year-old. The next day I get an email. I will respond, right?
Yep.
Because I've been very sick about the responsibility and all that. I will respond. So I think this is a good advice where you said, well, if you're gonna get an email from the bank asking you to do something, chances are if you go directly to the website, they're going to tell you the same thing.
Right. Hopefully.
So
Or
why click? Why click?
don't click on it. Go to
Don't
the
click on
original
it. Just
website.
just go there. Right?
Yeah.
Just go there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Because you'll see redirect messages. Sometimes you see them. I mean, sometimes you actually see where it says, redirect da 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 da.
Hmm.
That's a young hacker that's not figured out how to spoof it better. But
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah, they do. they can either take you to a farming site, which is a fake website,
Yeah.
or they can monitor, they can send you to the real site, but because you clicked on that link that they're monitoring, they can monitor the information, and you're on the right site, but they're monitoring everything you do.
Yeah. Well, let me repeat that. When you do get a email of some sort, and you're inclined to do something with it, don't click. Just go to the website. It's somebody you know already. So just, if it's a bank, or it's we're getting approached to, April 15. You get all kinds of mail from your financial institution telling you that your tax form is ready. Don't click on that. Just go to the website. Just go to whatever it is that you normally do your
Type it in, www.bankofamerica.com.
yeah, just type it in. Just type it in, and then you're gonna get the same message there anyway if it's real.
It may not be real.
Yeah, because they're not gonna save, they're gonna use every effort to find you anyway.
Yeah, and about 90% of the hijacks that people, hijacking microphones or stealing information off your computer or looking at your video are done by sending out malicious emails that say, hey, this is from your mom. Hey, would you like to look at this message? Or do you know where this picture came from? Or you know this person? And people, oh, I'm going to find it when I click on it, even though they don't look at the address where it came from, and that's how they get hijacked very easily, because once you click on it, it's activate.
That's a good observation. I don't know. I haven't really spent too much time thinking about it in the past, but I should. The point is that if you use Gmail, it does a pretty good job filtering out the spam, and most of the spam you don't even see, right? They just automatically they know it's spam. They execute on it. You don't even see it, and then when you do see it is when they're not so sure, and they put it on the spam filter, right? So that they do that with spam. It seems like they should take that to the next step, and at the minimum, when someone sent you a fake message like that, they should alert you to the link. I don't know why they don't do that yet.
Well, Google does. If Google sees one person sending out multiple messages that are suspicious to a whole bunch of people, and it's the same email with dad or mom or something in it, Google's pretty good about catching that and whacking them out right at the network. I mean, they knock them out.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's your responsibility to protect yourself, and a lot of people forget that responsibility. They think that it's someone else's problem. And let me tell you something: if you rely on that, you're going to be you're going to have a lot of problems.
Okay, well, that's just again going back to the intent of this particular show is to bring awareness, bring alerts. Right?
Yep.
Okay.
Bring awareness. Wake up.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Good. Now, another new thing is the Internet of Things. That's where you've got your toaster and TV and refrigerator and air conditioning, system attached to the Internet, so you can control it, even your security system. I just tell people, hey, if it's on the Internet, its chances of being breached in some methodology, trust me, it will happen. Now, one time, not too long ago, I think it was last year.
I think Tim, you probably don't have a whole bunch of Internet of Things at home, because you don't want that at your home, right? But
I actually have gone into devices, refrigerators, found the Ethernet card and ripped it out.
I mean, in my home, my thermostat is Internet connected, right? And I'm in the process of redoing the lighting so that as many my light bulbs would be Internet connected. It's real. It's real.
It's real, but I don't accept it here. Not too long ago, there was a big upset about a lot of television sets actually had cameras that were focused on the people in the room, and all of a sudden that became a big deal, and people raised hell about it.
I always thought that the 3M would make a whole bunch of money if they just take their the Post-it note and just cut it down to 3/8 inch by 3/8. And I buy a whole bunch of it just to tape up my cameras.
I do that, by the way.
Yeah, I do that. I actually have to cut it down. I mean, it's just
there's my camera there.
Yeah, there's
my camera there.
There you go. There you go.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't like it laying. I don't like them just laying around like that.
Yeah.
So can we go to the next slide? And I think we'll
Oh,
probably cut
sure.
it loose after that.
Okay, sure, sure. I hang on. I forgot my job, man.
God, don't worry about it. Well, some more concerns to consider. A lot of times people, not too many years ago, there was a site on TV that said, go here, it's free, and we'll tell you what's wrong with your computer. And it was one of the most successful hacks out there for a while. So you got to be careful about rogue cyber protection. Everybody's telling you that, hey, get my cyber protection is the best in the world. Well, make sure that you vet them, read about them, make sure they've been around a while, that they're accepted by people. Go with the big names, Trend, McAfee, Norton. Go with the big people. Don't go. Kaspersky is another great one. There's a bunch of them out there, but uh, don't be chintzy on your malware protection. Trust me. Okay, uh, it's not worth it. You spend a few bucks to save yourselves a lot of bucks. When I 2 years ago, before I went through all my surgeries and everything, I had 4 computers and I loaded 4 different types of malware protection. I'm sorry, that was last year. That's 2014. And I went out to numbers of sites that I knew were bad sites just to purposely see, and went to sites I knew that would try to load malware, adware. Now we call it maladvertising, which is malicious advertising. Uh, and I found the one that I liked the best. Now, there's none of them are perfect. They're all going to have some weaknesses, but always you want to err on the side of safety. So if one pops up more than the other, I love it. That just makes it easy for me to make a choice. Um, DOS and DDoS attacks. There's basically 4 types, and we're going to see a lot more of DOS. That's deniability of service, and DDoS is distributed deniability of service. That's when you use botted computers that are in the internet to help you commit that crime or commit that suppression. And I think the Internet Society not too long ago came up with a figure that about 100,000 or so, 70 to 100,000 servers that are on the internet. They shouldn't be on the internet, but they are hidden behind certain, walls and things like that. Are botted. They're ready to do the action of their caller. So their controller will call up and say, "Hey, I want to attack this website because I don't like them, or because they've said something I don't like, uh, or because I want to figure out a way to get them." And now what we're finding out they're doing is they will take down a site or take down a URL or address, and while they're doing that, they'll actually start loading malware as much as they can, because once you crush the protection of a network, you have access to it, and then they do the small attacks, and then they hide advanced persistent threats in there. So, and that's why you always hear me. I know people get tired of hearing me. That's why I like taps on my network, because it cannot be hacked. And I can be monitoring the network and seeing a true picture of it through a device that cannot be hacked. So that's why I always talk about get a physical view of your network. If you're in a big network, you should have it. Uh, Trojans have not gone away. Trust me, they got more sophisticated, and there's a number of them. Most of the time, Trojans today are hidden inside a software that we even see it happen on our favorite website, Wireshark. There was one person, he hit a Trojan, and it wasn't on the original Wireshark.org. It was on another site that told everybody they could get it there. So if you're going to download software, make sure you get it from the horse's mouth. Don't go to some site, ABC special software download here,
Get
or
it from the horse's mouth, not the wrong end.
yeah, not from the other end. Okay. Do not accept downloads by email. Unless you know that you request it from a viable site. Like, I went to Cisco the other day and they had a special thing I wanted to read, and I could request it by email. I did so, and it came to me. I expected it. I knew what it was. But even then, I can't open it. The way I've got my computer set up, I've got a lot of security. So I'll get a file, PDF, doc, any kind of file, normal file. I put it into a folder, and then before I open it, I run whatever protection I have to make sure that it's viable, safe, and then I unblock it. But I don't allow it to run until I let it run. Don't ever let software just pop up and run for you. Uh, we're going to get more and more social media attacks. Right now, ISIS is very big on social media. They're trying to recruit our children. That's a social attack, as far as I'm concerned. but the criminals use social media. Trust me, to know when you're home, because some people will put down, what time they went to the bathroom, and you know, way too much information. Don't put all that crap on social media.
Well, go back to the download email for a minute. But I want to talk about the reverse, which is how do you send sensitive information over email? Sometimes you don't have a choice. Like recently I had to interview some potential tenant for property. And you have to ask for information, and you have no choice. They have to give it to you, the social security number, name, address, phone number, and stuff like that. So what I do is I say, look, give me this on the email so I can get started. But this other information, I need it down the road. But don't email me. Don't email it to me. Text it to me, right? So you try to, just break up. Sometimes, you don't have a choice. Sometimes you don't have a choice. You have to put
Correct.
sensitive information somehow.
Well, you can do private encryption, Danny. You can say, hey, listen, send me this message and encrypt it, and this is the key you should use, okay? And it's XYZ, ABC, whatever. And then
I try not to rent my property to grandmothers, but trust me, the people I deal with,
okay,
encrypted.
Sorry.
Encryption. What are you talking about, man?
Well, that's what, if I have sensitive information, I do the same thing you do. I interview
No,
people.
I agree.
And if a company's going to send me some confidential information, I don't say send it directly to me. What I would prefer is snail mail, but sometimes you don't have that option. So I say, look, here's my encryption key. Use this key, encrypt it, and send it to me.
Right.
And they'll
Agree.
So that's one way of doing it. Now, the whole goal of my concerns and my goal is to get people to be aware, understand visibility, rapid response, and mitigation. Whether you're one person in a home with internet connection, or you're in a company that has 40 million employees, or like I heard IBM's going to lay off 100,000 people or something recently. But no matter where you're at, try to become aware. Don't always take the shortcut. That's what will kill you every time. And be visible. Look at your network. Look at what you can in your network. Try to understand what properties are. Go over and click on file and open the properties of an email, and so you can begin to understand what a real email looks like and if it's been redirected or it's been spoofed. It'll help you learn that stuff. You can't always see it, but begin to look at it. If you really want to get smart and play with your network and learn about what goes on in the network, go out and download Wireshark, which is the most incredible software package or diagnostic package available today, especially for free, and capture some frames and take a look at what a TCP/IP stream is. Try to look at some of the unusual activity that goes on. Find out if you're running IPv6 open without any protection. Things like that. Respond quickly. If you got a problem, I tell people the first thing, if I click on the site and something doesn't look right, the first thing I do is try to terminate it, and then I reach down and disconnect my internet connection. Okay? That way does not have access to my computer. Now, if you think something's weird going on, disconnect it before it gets going too far. That's pretty easy to do. Mitigation, be ready to go and download malware bytes, or check and make sure that your virus protection's up to date. If something doesn't sound right, do something about it. Don't just keep going. I've gotten into computers before that people said, oh, it's running terribly slow. I had one guy that had 28,000+ adware. It built malware, we call it today, or malvertising, built into his PC. Not built in, but loaded in his PC. And once we got rid of that, thing ran fine.
As you're talking about here, I keep going back to what we want to achieve in this show and the future show, which is kind of bring awareness to our audience, which are typically very technically savvy. It's just that sometimes we spend too much we focus too much on a job or our outside world. We know what to do when it's part of a job. We know what to do when it's about our company's network. Just that sometimes we don't know what to do, or we don't do it. when it comes to it. You know, it's like the doctor who don't know how to cure himself, right?
Right.
Yeah. So so what we talk about here is how do you mitigate, you know, using your word, how do you mitigate your own vulnerability? And how do you become vulnerable? And of course, sometimes you become vulnerable because of desperation, right? If you're looking for a prince from Liberia, I gotta have that. You know, then of course,
Yeah.
when you get an email from someone who says, "Oh, look, I'm a prince, and you know, here's my problem. Can you help me?" You will help him because you're desperate
Yeah.
for love, right? But that's not really the problem here. The problem here, I think, I was just thinking about it as you speak, is that we're not so much that we're desperate. It's just that we're exacerbated.
Right.
You know, we got so many things going on in our life, right? We're working 12 hours a day, 5.5 days a week, on call basically all the time when it comes to protecting a company's network. At the same time, we have family. We that's one of the problems is that not only are we the IT support for home, we sometimes are the remote control. You know, we bring so much technology to the home that our kids, our spouse, don't even know how to change channel anymore.
Yeah. It gets
You
pretty
know,
bad.
we got so many boxes now. I'm speaking from experience, and so sometimes you get tired. You know, you have so much demand, and so that's what we're talking about. Is when you often it comes from your vulnerability comes from the fact that you're exacerbated.
Yeah. And sometimes we don't ask questions. We think we know too much.
We know
Uh,
too much. Yeah,
yeah. One
yeah.
thing I learned right
That
away
can't
was
happen to me
not me, but
because that would be embarrassing.
yeah. Well, that's why we studied so hard to learn something about something that was so minute. We felt good about it, but now we found out about reality. Yeah, I mean, even simple things you can do. You know, turn your Wi-Fi off at night. There, almost all of the new connections from the new devices from AT&T and Comcast and all those companies, they have a timeout. You can go in and say, hey, I don't want my kids on the internet after 8 o'clock, so shut it down. And then I don't want it back. Well, not today, 10 o'clock probably, but and then I don't need it turned back on till 9 o'clock. Or if I'm going to be gone all day, and my wife's gone all day, and my kids are gone all day, I don't need
You,
it turned
you're
on
you're
till
obviously you're obviously from the wrong generation, man. You don't understand
I know.
how cruel and unusual punishment applies at home. That is not acceptable.
Well, that's a
No
problem for a lot of
Facebook
kids.
at 2 o'clock in the morning. What are you
Yeah.
talking about?
Well, people do that. I mean, they go to sleep with the computer on 24 hours a day.
It's
The
awful. It's
cell phone is
awful.
underneath their pillow. It's just,
It's
it's too
awful.
much. It's too much.
I should name this, but obviously something very close to me. They actually use the portable computer so as a bed warmer.
That wouldn't surprise me. It gets pretty warm.
Yeah.
But that's how people get in trouble. And by the way, cover up your camera like Denny suggested earlier. You don't need your camera on 24 hours a day or your microphone. Trust me.
And don't trust that little green light. If they
No.
know how to turn on your camera, they know how to turn it on without turning on the green light.
There's actually even a new computer out there, and I won't tell you who it is, but where they put in a 4G backdoor where if your company wants to access it while the computer's off, they can go in and make changes and do this and that. Well, here's the problem. The hackers have already hacked it. So if they know you've got it, they can hack and get your computer while you're asleep. And
Hey,
even though you've turned it off,
Tim, I know. What if we? What would you be okay if we kind of sign off now because we
yeah,
just kind of hit
let's,
half an hour, and
yeah.
it's a good point. I put up the slides about the year 2015, which is sort of a forward-looking part of the show.
Well, the
But
key,
I think today we did a very good job to talk about what we want to do and kind of recap of some of the problems that we have seen looking back, right?
right. But
So
there's two
maybe
major points on that slide.
go ahead.
More, M-O-R-E, and it's already happened. We've already had over 65, almost 70 major breaches, and the last one was Anthem Insurance, which was,
Now you mentioned before we go on air that you actually believe that 2015 is the pivotal year.
I think it's going to be a very pivotal year for cyber laws, cyber events. It's going to be a very pivotal year
Hmm.
because we're going to see more laws, we're going to see more knowledge, uh, and the people that are now graduating from security school, because I get to help out and I speak to the kids at Kennesaw State University Gwinnett Tech and things like that. These guys are starting to get to where, hey, we understand hacking. Okay, we understand programming, and we're going to try to do better about it. And then you've got companies like NetBees and NetScout and people like that that really know how to monitor a network for aberrant behavior now, and they
So
can
you
go
think
there.
that it's a pivotal year because it's the it's the beginning of when we start to drop the word cyber because it is going forward. Attack is an attack.
Right. I mean, it's
There's
a
no better
typical
way to
curve.
attack than is the cyber attack.
Yeah, it's a typical curve interaction or
Yeah,
interpolation, as they call it. The hackers had all the knowledge, and they've
yeah.
reached a pivot point. They're
Hmm.
starting to kind of level off, and now behind them is where our educated protectors are. They're learning now, and they're up to that same level and over it. So now is the time that we can begin to enact more cyber policies, more cyber laws, and more cyber prevention, attack prevention. It's still going to
Hmm.
happen because there's a lot of people out there that would rather pay the penalty. They don't care about your information. They'd rather pay a fine and get it over with.
Hmm.
Uh,
Hmm.
but it's going to become major. I mean, we saw people's stocks drop last year for when they got hacked. We're going to see a lot of things go on that are beginning to affect the financial positioning of companies. And of course, the people, the individual, is still going to be hacked. They're going to steal your information. But why go after you when they can go after a million names in 1 week? And someone asked the question not too long ago, what happens when all of the names on the internet, every person, every child, every man, woman, grandma, grandpa, and everything, aunt and uncle, has been hacked, and they've got all the information about everybody in the world? What's going to happen then? I don't. It's going to be. It's happening. We're seeing millions. I mean, Anthem Insurance, roughly 100 million names or PII, personal identifying information, has gone, plus their medical information. That's never, what's the one rule of the internet, Denny? Once it's out there, it never goes away.
Yeah, yeah,
Well,
yeah.
it's a pretty, this could be a pivotal year where we can begin to reclaim people's identity and put security in better. But it's going to take effort on people's part, not just people at work or people that are network gurus. It's going to take people at home to protect themselves. You lock your doors, you lock your windows, you turn your burglar alarm on, you turn your outside lights on to scare away the boogeyman. Well, the question is, what are you doing to protect yourself in a cyber world? And it's the time to learn now.
Uh, I actually agree that. I agree that. Now I don't know whether that would be 2015. It will probably be sooner than we like. The idea is that I know so many people who are who rely on one and a half income, basically a full-time dad working and part-time mom and with two young kids at home and they rely on their credit card. You know,
Yeah,
it's not like they are in debt. They're no more in debt than anybody else, but it's the credit card becomes their cash flow, right? They get
right.
paid and then they pay off the credit card on a monthly basis. What if you wake up one day and your credit card no longer works, and when you call the 800 numbers, no one answers?
It has happened, and it will
Yeah.
happen more often.
And what happens when you're elderly couples who don't use credit card, but you're relying on money that you can withdraw from your savings account? And one day you discover that your PIN number no longer works, right? And when you go to the bank, they couldn't find your account, not yet.
Yep.
They're
I had
working
that
on it.
had
They're
that happen
working
to a
on it.
friend.
Yeah,
Had that happen to a friend of mine who's
yeah.
83 years old, and she was. I mean, I thought she was going to just die from the stress. And her son called and said,
And
"We
and
can't."
and and when is it gonna have? When is the equivalent of the Tylenol, right?
Hmm.
I mean that's what we're talking about. It's that someone contaminated one of your products, and you run the risk of losing your entire brand.
Well, that's a big threat. I mean, you think about it. We've already had the Chinese load malware into some of the stuff that was sold to our federal government, um, and they've stolen a lot of stuff. And a friend of mine actually asked that question: if you were going to buy something today, would you buy something that was an active device from China that you're not really sure if it doesn't have malware? I mean, you can have 0 day, and you can have timed, and you can have triggered. Uh, is that a problem? And I think that's going to become a security problem. We've already had that situation occur from
Well,
Europe.
I think it's important to talk just a little bit about the Anthem case. And from what I know is that the fingers are pointing towards the Chinese government of hacking an American company,
Right.
right?
It's not the first
And
time.
well, the question is, why would they do that? What benefit? How does that benefit their country? I mean, I can understand they hacking Gmail, and because they want to uncover some, the names of the dissidents
Right.
who are inside the country using
Right.
Gmail as a Dropbox. I understand that, but why would you go? I mean, this is like coming all the way to our country, to my adopted country, and then doing something that clearly has no benefit to them. Why would they do that? Well, why wouldn't they do that? I mean, who was it that says that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely?
Yeah.
Here's a country that has absolute power. What more? What is there more important to them protecting their power? And what they want to do, and if I, from what I read, is that they just wanted to make sure that all the people, all the foreigners that come to their country, right?
Hmm.
They're now to a point where they're not only controlling the minds, the thoughts of their own citizens, they want to control the minds and the thoughts of the people coming to the country, right? They're doing that to uncover, all the people who would normally do business in China, who might be a contractor of sort, who, whatever. And this is, why wouldn't they do that?
Yeah. I mean, it's cyber warfare. I mean, if you get right down to it,
Warfare. This is like I was saying. It is warfare.
it is
It is
warfare.
as much
Yeah.
of a power struggle between the two superpower in the world. It's as much as that, right?
And
And
trust me, China's built one hell of an eavesdropping network. They probably have a better eavesdropping network right now than we have. And that's today warfare is terrorism, right? People don't want to launch missiles because the retaliation is going to be devastating. Uh, so they really want to just that's warfare. Let's win the minds. What's the Chinese uh, theory is win the hearts and minds of the enemy. Um, and I think that's their goal. I mean, they can do it by force, or they can do it, by whatever, socialization and that. But it's really scary how much is going on.
well, I mean, obviously, it's a very complex um, topic for me, right?
Yeah,
Because both my heritage and who I am and so forth. But
but you're an American citizen. We're not. It's not. It's not the people that got out of there. It's the people that are in charge. It's not the Chinese, the people, the social people there. It's the government. And by the way, I want to mention one thing. The FBI just added a hacker to the FBI most wanted list. I think that's the first one to ever make the FBI most wanted list. Uh,
well, I will, as soon as we wrap this up, I will put up our episode on Love My Tool, and I actually have made a banner for you, and in the banner I said something like this, and I hope it's acceptable to you, Tim, that it's summarize our spirit, which is that who's watching over us if we don't watch over them,
that's right. I saw that. That was very good. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, so it's a very, I think that, I mean, my own feeling is that everyone we associate ourselves with at Love My Tool are patriots.
Yep.
Are patriots. And being American is a concept. It's not just, it's not a geographical belonging. It's actually a spiritual belonging that we take our liberty, right?
Yep.
This is what we're talking about. And so, we're watching. Who's watching over us if we don't watch over them? So we are here to watch over them as much as to watch for ourselves, right?
Right. I agree. And remember one thing. Years ago, a guy asked me, or told me that there was a bounty on American citizens. And I said, what does that mean? He says, well, anybody that's an American citizen is a bad guy. I said, yeah, but Americans are made up of every type of nationality or individual. And the only thing that we all agree on is that, well, okay, 99% of us agree on is that freedom is what we are. That's what America's supposed to be. We're not supposed to be, you know, afraid of living our lives. We're supposed to be free to live the right way. And when other countries like China or any country, Russia, okay, tries to take that freedom away, it's warfare. And that's why I say this is not a battle, intellectual battle. This is warfare. And we got to start acting like it. And the first thing we got to do is protect our families and our children, then our industry, then our government, you know, our military, our way of life in general. That's what it is to me.
Okay. Well, with that, we'll wrap this up, and this is sort of our Cyber Monday, as much as the Vegan Monday, right?
Yep.
So this is our Cyber Monday, and we know we won't do a show next week. We might do a show the week after, which would be on the what date is that? Hang on just one second. And but anyway, we either do the show. We'll make the announcement. We either do the show in 2 weeks, or we do it in 4 weeks.
I think we're going to do 2 weeks is what we're going to try for if everything goes well.
Okay, okay, I'm good. So the 2 weeks would put us on the 23rd, end of the month. That would be good. So we do two. You know, we'll see how that works. So we already have some material, which is really looking forward to 2015, and of course we will again start with alerts first, right?
Yeah, and we'll try to keep adding to the same format. Because like I said, this is an ongoing thing, and we're trying to build a history of thought, and people start getting aware of the the potential.
Yeah, and again, this is an open invitation to anyone who wants to be part of this, who might have a financial reason to want it to be kind of at the vanguard, right? If the business depends on alerting people, this is a show for you. Okay?
Yep.
All right, with that, go out there and have a sober Monday.
Have a fun Monday and safe one.
Safe one. Safe one. Yeah, you don't wipe after yourself. Someone else will wipe it for you. You don't want that. Bye.
God bless America.
I don't know why I said that. I could cut that off.
You're okay.
I don't. I'm fine. Okay. Bye bye.
But God bless America. Bye bye.
Okay. That's right. Bye bye.